To a lot of people, the military is a wild and mysterious place, and in some ways it is. So this dust up this past week about illegal orders and all this other stuff might seem like a lot of controversy, a lot of game, yada, yada, yada. And there is some game going on in the background here, but it's not as significant as you might think. There are a lot of people who are very much getting up in arms about how legal or illegal it is for people to call on military members to disobey orders. Military members have both a right and a duty to refuse specific orders if they are not deemed to be lawful. Every military member, when they come into service, swears one of two oaths. If you're enlisted, you swear the oath of enlistment. If you are an officer, you swear the oath of office. Both of them have the affirmation that you will support and defend the Constitution. The oath of enlistment delves more into taking the oath to obey orders from all higher to include the president and officers above you, in accordance with the Uniform Code of Military Justice. And officers have a requirement to discharge their duties with faith and without resignation, and all this other fancy language. It is important to note that the military's highest allegiance is to the Constitution, not to the president, not to the Congress. So if anybody gives them orders that they do not see as falling within the balance of what is allowed by the Constitution, then they have a right and a duty to refuse all of those orders. Now this can be fuzzy because the Supreme Court can't even agree on what exactly the Constitution says, but the Supreme Court interprets laws that are based on the Constitution, and so any U.S. laws that are based on the Constitution need to be followed by any service member at any point in time. So the game here from the side of the Congress people who released this message is one about just trying to softly, gently nudge and sow discontent for people who are willfully following blind orders based off of their own personal bias. And to Trump, that seems like a challenge to his power because he is a person who is inherently obsessed with having power and having control. But then this gets back to a question that we should probably ask ourselves. If the military is asked to do something that is illegal, that is kind of fucked up, that does not stand with supporting and defending the Constitution, not necessarily the American people, you got to be very careful about understanding that. How would they know whether or not that action is or is not against the Constitution? Would they be equipped and prepared to refuse those orders? Honestly, I think it's kind of a gray area because not very many people in the military sit down and talk constitutional law very often. But they do understand that there are orders that they probably should and should not take. But history has shown us that military members are not entirely equipped to disobey orders. But at the same time, we have seen specific acts of heroism that do go against orders. I think the biggest and easiest example that probably a lot of people know about is the My Lai massacre. This is about people who were following orders to do a heinous thing, and because they were so fucked up and jaded that they did a heinous thing, and people who were disobeying orders against a higher person, going into a situation, putting their life on the line to stop something from becoming even more of a terrible situation. I mean, this is all stuff for you guys to think about. If you have any military members in your life, talk to them about what they know about constitutional law. Talk to them about the ethics. Talk to them about what they know about the situation on the ground, because a lot of times they get stuck in these pipelines and they don't actually look outside of what their bases are and see what's going on in the world. And at the end of the day, remember, the real military members are the friends you made along the way.